So our next reading for Tuesday, what is colonialism and how did it arise, comes from World 101. World 101 is a growing library of free multimedia resources that provide an immersive learning experience in a variety of settings. You can read the rest of that if you so choose. You're not responsible to know that. This too is a really short reading. What is meant by the sun never sets on British Empire? Think about it in reference to this particular map. Again, all of these darker blue or blue-green shaded countries are indicate countries that were under European and British rule. They define colonialism as the practice of controlling another country or area and exploiting its people and its resources. So while everyone uses a little bit of different verbiage, the point is primarily the same, that another country comes in and controls a different country and area and exploits the resources and the people. Please pay attention to the section, What Drove Colonialism? She writes about four different aspects that drove colonialism and their rationales. You need to know those. Two types of colonies that exist: settler colonies and extractive colonies. I actually already introduced that to you in the earlier colonization lecture, the types of colonization lecture. But they do go into detail about settler colonies and extractive colonies. There's also another distinction that's being made, and that's between direct rule and indirect rule. So I want you to be clear on that distinction. This one too mentions Leopold. King Leopold II of Belgium was extremely violent. And while his name doesn't circulate in our popular discourse, when you look at the level of violence that happened in the colonies, King Leopold is exemplary of the most horrific display of human torture and violence. He enacted physical violence and coercion. He also enacted psychological violence. He restricted education. He restricted speech. He restricted language. He restricted travel. He dispossessed people of their lands and their homes. He destroyed and broke up families. It was an exacting violence. It was extreme. Britain is also, and Queen Elizabeth I are also really key figures for the expansion of the colonies across the globe. I want you to know what the British East Indian Company was and how it evolves in its occupation of India. I want you to also understand what kinds of restrictions Britain was putting on India, including military force, economic restrictions, the removal of resources, levying of taxes, genocide. I want you to understand the fullness of the impact of Britain's East Indian Company. The partitioning of India includes the creation of India and Pakistan. I want you to understand who divided it, how they divided it, and what the consequences were of that division. Again, some challenges include the exportation of wealth from India, the leveling of tax against indigenous people, and genocide. But since independence, there has been a growth in India's economy, but the country still struggles with a range of issues that frequently affect developing countries, such as poverty, poor sanitation, economic inequality and democratic backsliding. So I will end this video here.